Hey man, most guys try to make her jealous by being obvious, posting thirst traps, tagging themselves with other women, or saying things they think will trigger a reaction. But what they don't understand is that real jealousy, the kind that hits her core, that shakes her confidence, that makes her start questioning what she thought she had with you, doesn't come from showing off. It comes from a subtle shift in energy, not loud, not desperate, just quiet, intentional distance paired with a calm indifference. That's the difference between manipulation and magnetism. And when you learn to shift in that way, without saying a word, you trigger something deep in her psychology that makes her start chasing clarity and chasing you. The shift begins when she senses your energy is no longer revolving around her. You're still polite, still grounded, still kind, but something's different. You're no longer reacting to her text like before. You're no longer making her the center of your schedule. You're not initiating as often, not because you're punishing her, but because you're focused. You've returned to your own orbit, and the moment she senses that shift, when your attention subtly pulls back and you stop making her your emotional compass, that's when the jealousy begins. Not out of pettiness, but because women are deeply attuned to where your attention flows. See, attention is currency. And when a man gives it freely, she might enjoy it, but she doesn't value it. But the moment your attention becomes earned, she starts watching for it. She starts checking if you've seen her story, starts wondering why you didn't double text, starts picking apart your silence to decode its meaning. And all of that mental activity, that's the root of jealousy. It's not just about you being with another woman, it's about her no longer being sure if she's the only one on your mind. And that ambiguity, that emotional gap, that's the trigger. And here's the truth, man, this shift only works when it's real. You're not pretending to be busy. You're not faking indifference, you're actually just less available. You're in the gym longer, you're diving deeper into your mission, you're spending time around people who don't drain your energy, you're protecting your peace, and because of that, your presence becomes scarce. Not cold, just rare. And when something rare slips from her fingers, her mind starts chasing it. She starts comparing herself. She starts wondering, did someone else get his attention? And that jealousy, it comes from respect, not insecurity. This is why the most powerful form of jealousy is unspoken. You're not flaunting other women. You're not mentioning new flings. You're just silent. And that silence is heavy. It forces her to ask questions. Why hasn't he checked in? Why didn't he reply right away? Why does it feel like he's thinking about someone else? And the more she asks those questions, the more she starts feeling a kind of emotional urgency. Not because you manipulated her, but because your absence revealed her attachment. Most guys think making her jealous is about external triggers, but the truth is, it's all internal. It's about how she feels around your energy. If your energy is too available, too obvious, too reactive, she feels safe, but the wrong kind of safe. Comfortable, certain, bored. But when you pull back into yourself, when you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop performing, you become unreadable. And unreadable is irresistible, because now she's not just experiencing you, she's chasing clarity about what you feel. That chase is where jealousy starts to spark. The key here is subtlety. You don't say, I'm busy. You are busy. You don't say, I'm doing my own thing now. You do your own thing. You let her feel the shift before you ever acknowledge it. You let her feel your silence before you break it. And in that silence, in that space between how you used to be and how you are now, she feels the echo of what she lost. Not in words, but in your emotional distance. And that distance, when it's calm and steady, is what makes her look around and say, who has his attention now? This shift doesn't require any pettiness. No games, no indirect posts, just growth. You're not making her jealous to punish her. You're simply not available like you used to be. You're living, evolving, rising. You're not the same man who texted her 3 times a day. You've become selective. And that selectivity makes her wonder where she stands. And once a woman starts wondering where she stands with a man she used to feel so certain about, that's when she feels a fear of loss. And fear of loss is the seed of renewed attraction. Let me be clear. You don't create jealousy by being cruel. You create it by being calm, still, present, but detached. You stop fighting for attention and start protecting your focus. You don't stop caring, but you stop proving it. You don't ghost her, You just stop giving her instant emotional reassurance. And that absence of reassurance makes her crave the certainty she used to feel. But now, that certainty has a cost. She has to show up better, softer, more intentional, because now she knows your attention isn't free. The beauty of this shift is that it's self-sustaining. You don't need to do anything except return to yourself. Spend more time in silence, more time alone, more time creating, building, exploring. The less noise you make, the more questions she asks. And the more questions she asks, the more she starts looking at you differently, with curiosity, with desire, with a quiet kind of emotional tension. And the best part, you never had to brag, never had to pretend. You just had to pull your energy back into your own world. As she begins to feel the shift, you'll notice something almost immediate. She starts sending more signals, a random text just to check in, a post meant to get your attention, a memory brought up out of nowhere. And this is where most guys fold. They get excited, they jump back into old patterns, they pour themselves back into her because they think the shift worked. But the man who truly understands this psychology doesn't chase the response. He holds the frame. He doesn't rush to reward her attention. He observes, he stays calm, because he knows the moment you break your pace for her, you reset the power dynamic and the spell breaks. What makes this shift so powerful is that it brings out her effort without needing to demand it. She starts doing more, not because you asked her to, but because she feels the need to earn back the presence she once took for granted. That right there is the essence of high-value energy. You didn't punish her, you didn't play games. You simply created an emotional vacuum by returning to your own center. And that vacuum pulled her back in harder than any argument or romantic gesture ever could. The hardest part of this shift isn't creating it, it's maintaining it. Because once she starts reacting, once she starts pulling at your energy again, you'll feel the old urge to reassure her, to make things go back to how they were. But you have to remember, this version of you, the man she's now chasing, is the man she's actually drawn to. He's not cold, but he's not reactive. He's not mean, but he's disciplined. And that discipline is what makes him unforgettable. It's what creates the respect you can't buy, beg, or demand. You'll notice a shift in how she communicates. Her texts become more thoughtful, her tone more respectful. She stops assuming your time and starts asking for it. Why? Because the uncertainty you introduced made her realize that your energy isn't guaranteed anymore. And that realization doesn't just spark jealousy, it sparks desire. Because now she's not just fighting for your attention, she's fighting to prove to herself that she still matters to a man who's clearly evolving beyond her grasp. And here's the subtle magic of this shift. It repositions you as the prize, not because you said so, but because you moved like it. You showed her, through distance and discipline, that you don't chase, you choose. And now, if she wants to be chosen again, she has to elevate her behavior. She has to lead with softness, with warmth, with femininity, because you've reminded her, without saying a single word, that access to your emotional world isn't something that can be assumed, it's something that's earned. This is where a woman's true nature reveals itself. When you stop flooding her with attention, the performance fades. What's left is what's real. If she truly values you, she'll shift, she'll re-engage, she'll come correct. But if her interest was only ever about your attention and not your essence, she'll fade. And either way, you win. Because this subtle shift filters out who's actually aligned with your growth and who just liked being the center of your world. You'll also notice how different you feel. You're no longer emotionally drained. You're no longer walking on eggshells trying to keep her attention. You're relaxed, present, focused. And that relaxed energy becomes attractive to everyone, not just her. Because people can sense when a man is emotionally full versus emotionally hungry. And when she sees that other women are now drawn to you, not because of flashy moves, but because of your energy, her jealousy deepens. Now she's not just worried about losing your attention, she's worried about losing you to someone who respects what she didn't. But again, this only works when you're not doing it to trigger her. You're doing it because you're finally pouring that attention back into yourself. And the byproduct of that reinvestment is magnetism. The glow in your skin, the calm in your tone, the mystery in your pace. These are all things that make her compare who you were to who you've become. And once she feels that evolution, once she realizes she doesn't get the same version of you just by showing up, that's when she feels real jealousy, the kind that comes from losing something valuable silently. And when she finally reaches out, when she starts chasing again, don't overcorrect. Don't swing back to the man she knew. Stay steady. Let her work for your presence. Let her feel the weight of your attention when you give it, but let her know it only comes through consistency and respect. That's how you maintain attraction, not by being the most available, but by being the most centered. Because in the end, the subtle shift that makes her jealous isn't a trick, it's a transformation. You stopped pouring into her and started pouring into yourself. You stopped reacting and started observing. You stopped being the easy win and became the man she now fears losing, not because you threatened her, but because you became more valuable than her pride could afford to ignore. And once she feels that, once she sees the man who stopped chasing her and started chasing himself, that's when the real game changes.